Myles, it's a pleasure to see you here, and welcome to Fintech Garden podcast here at Money 2020.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you? How is for you the Money 2020 conference?
Yeah, it's been great so far. Really interesting conversations and discussions on key topics such as stablecoins, AI, and how both of those might be used together, in the near future.
I took a look on your career history, and it's like you spent your time at Santander, then Starling, then Global Cap, now CPO at AMINA. So you're coming from a strong regulated to a crypto bank that was built initially as a crypto bank. It's interesting how your view from regulated classical banking or finance institutions you applied here. The most thing is what helping you to be above to see things that others that are coming poorly right now into crypto side are missing.
Yeah, so from my perspective, it's finding the right balance between innovation, creating products that meet the underlying needs of our clients, solving genuine problems, but balancing that with everything that you would expect from within a regulated financial institution. So making sure that we are secure by design, making sure that we keep our clients safe, keep their assets safe, making sure that we protect from bad actors, making sure that if we're maneuvering between our own infrastructure or we're going on chain, that we're always doing that in a way, that ultimately builds trust with our clients.
Speaking about finding the correct balance between different innovations and regulations. Nowadays on continental Europe exist different regulations. They're looking quite alike, but still we have discrepancies, we have differences that are shaping business in a different way, or in one region or another, in a country or in another. My personal opinion is that in one moment we will get across continental Europe all the regulations regarding crypto, regarding finances, they'll start to be very, very identical. Maybe with some small nuances, but mostly identical. What I still cannot understand is what will be the golden standard of such regulations across continental Europe. What do you think? What will be?
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. And from our perspective, we're very fortunate that we're headquartered as a bank in Switzerland, which is a very early adopter in bringing distributed ledger technology into its legislation and also regulating crypto assets. So we've been operating within a regulated framework for the last sort of 7 years. Yeah, we do notice a difference in the approach between, Switzerland, the European Union with MiCA, also what's going on in the UK, as well as the US with Clarity and Genius Acts. And I think it's important to understand that each of those regulatory bodies is focused on how the stablecoin use cases, for example, or crypto asset use cases are applied there locally, and what the use cases are for those jurisdictions. I think what we will start to see, that now the regulatory clarity has sort of lifted, and for us it's an enabler for innovation. We will hopefully see the adoption and the pace of adoption increase. I think we will start to see more harmonization, particularly when we think about the cross-border element, because it does create friction when those regulations are not fully aligned. And like we see in TradFi, what we've seen over the last sort of 30 years or so in TradFi is that where we have cross-border activity, those regulations have had to become more harmonized. So it's a natural progression. But we absolutely see that regulation here is an enabler for innovation.
You are, as a product specialist, a person who knows how to build products, complex products, you know how to build not only the strategy and the roadmaps, you also know how to properly take into control the product development. This question, I think, will be specifically for you and fitted for you. On your panel, you mentioned, you covered the pilot to production journey. So all these steps, also that I already mentioned. When a company comes to AMINA, a new client, you sign the agreement and you start to work. What's the first product they taking? For the first product they are taking from you and implement, and you start to work with them?
Yeah, so for many of our clients, we are really the intersection between TradFi or CFI and DeFi. So for a lot of our clients, it's about that access, providing them that access. And we do that in a number of ways. That can be support with on and off ramp. That can be support with secure custody. We also have a lot of clients that come to us looking at yield strategies, how they can drive and generate yield. And so we have a number of products and solutions that help them with those objectives. I mean, where we're seeing a very big focus at the moment is across the stablecoin use cases, particularly as payments, particularly for corporates, as ways to drive efficiencies across their organization. We're seeing things like employee payroll. So employees wanting to be paid in stablecoins, particularly employees that are based, in a different country, with globalization, which we're seeing more and more, and the ability to work remotely. We're seeing a drive and an increase in adoption there as well. So yeah, really, in summary, we're at the intersection. We're helping our clients navigate both worlds. We're not here to replace DeFi, but we are here to redefine how financial institutions operate.
Speaking about redefining, I think the next, in my opinion, the next 12 months will be a period when a lot of things will start to shape, not to shape, but already from just being a shape on a paper, will start to already this big journey from pilot to project. Maybe, I don't know, for example, agentic payments, maybe we'll have more, a year we'll see much more things already implemented. From your perspective, what a fintech leader, as person who manages a fintech company or is a part of management of a fintech company, has to look at and has to focus at till next Money 2020?
My sort of single biggest piece of advice right now would be looking at genuine, real use cases that can be applied within financial services to solve genuine problems, but the actual practical implementation of those, both locally and also globally. So how do we apply, for example, know your transaction standards across sort of stablecoin payments as we take them on chain? How do we bring the robustness, the safety, the security that comes from traditional finance? And how do we start to implement that practically? That's my sort of biggest piece of advice for companies in the next 12 months heading into next Money 2020.
Thank you very much for coming here. It was a pleasure to speak with you, to discuss and to hear so many insights. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.